So, hello everyone. Thank you all for coming to this next Crypto Investors Meetup event here in Munich. Again hosted with friendly help and assistance and support from Deloitte. Thank you very much again for hosting us. We have some very interesting topic today, or several interesting topics today. And so maybe some of you also think, okay, this is serious company, Deloitte, serious event. What is this guy doing here with this less serious T-shirt? The reason for that is that sometimes serious people can also be less serious, and particularly I have noticed that happening when we deal with the ICOs. So this is how I was feeling very often when I was participating in some ICOs, and probably some of you were feeling similar like me, maybe not. But by the way, how many of you have already invested or participated in ICO? Okay, and how many of you knew what you were doing? Like really knew, and where you investing to? Okay, so I feel relief now that maybe I'm not the only one sometimes feeling like this. And actually the reason we're having this meetup today is to bring a bit of more seriousness here to this topic, and let the professionals tell us something about it. Specifically, we'll have Sasha, who's going to present about the legal aspects of the ICOs today, and we have Bernd, who is going to present us his some other very interesting project, which is indirectly related to the ICOs, but I think ICO is the overwhelming and hot topic today. Also, we have some additional presentations today, so there's quite a lot of interesting content here. So firstly, there will be Sven presenting about global cryptocurrency and blockchain news and trends, together with his colleague Lukas. They both work at Deloitte, so thank you very much. And then we'll have also their colleagues, their colleague Jens, also presenting on tax aspects related to blockchain technology, and particularly to the ICOs again. This is going to be followed already, as announced, by a presentation from Sasha, and then there will be Bernd presenting and showing us live the very interesting, exciting platform Swarm City. After that, we will all have fun, pretzels, beer, and soft drinks. So, like always, feel free to network, to get to know each other, to ask questions. So, by the way, thank you very much again to Deloitte. They have sponsored the soft drinks, and Sasha was responsible for the beer and pretzels. So, yes, thank you very much.
Unexpectedly so.
Good. If you haven't noticed yet, we have today also a camera here filming us. So we are live on stream. This is going to be also recorded. So be careful what you say. No, not really. I think we can have a pretty open and direct communication, and the advantage is that you can all review it later on YouTube and share it with your colleagues or friends who are interested to find out more about it. So thank you very much. Enjoy it today, and I'm going to hand over to Sven.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vladimir, and thanks for approaching us again and ask us whether we can host this event, and we're happy to do so because we are heavily involved in blockchain, and I would like to outline a little bit what we're currently working on. And maybe to those of you who does not know us, or maybe have a different picture of Deloitte as being one of the big four companies, we're not only doing audit, we are actually quite involved in the blockchain movement. We have on a global scale over 800 practitioners dealing with Deloitte. We here in Europe, in EMEA, we have founded a grid, EMEA Grid it's called, with its headquarters in Dublin. And here we also have developers sitting, so then they're actually producing code, and in Ethereum, in Hyperledger, and also some more niche sectors. Here in Germany, we have founded the Deloitte Blockchain Institute, and so here we our aim is to actually be the center focal point for all blockchain related questions within the company. So as you might know, we have 5 pillars. We have consulting, risk advisory, audit, tax and legal. And if there is any question or a client comes up and asks for our expertise in blockchain, we usually work as or act as one company and have a joint market offering. As said, the Blockchain Institute has its mission is actually to build up the Deloitte capabilities within all functions and service lines, and also across industries, and also be then the primary contact towards the clients if they want to know what our service offering is. What we are currently working on is writing proof of point of use, so create eminence, be present at conferences, and also build proof of concepts. So actually work in programs mostly in a modular fashion, but that usually we give them out for free, so in open source, like the identity, our identity proof of concept, where you can actually store identities in the blockchain, in the public blockchain. I'm leading the legal labs, so actually we have discovered that it's not only about the technology, and this is also the major topic for today, legal aspects of ICO or TGEs. And so we see that there's a lot of white spots when it comes to blockchain. It's one of the barriers, as we identified, for clients to fully adopt blockchain, as there are so many unanswered questions. And so here we are also building use cases. We are building up capabilities to give legal advice and tax advice specifically on blockchain matters, and we also build up service offerings like life cycle management for contracts, and have then it beefed up with blockchain to actually have another layer of integrity. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes here within Deloitte, and we invite you to reach out to us, and if you see that you've come up with maybe some use case, but might need a bigger partner, then feel free to reach out to any one of us 3 here tonight. That's it for a brief introduction of about what Deloitte is currently working on and how we have organized ourselves. Any questions regarding that? If not, I would like to hand it over to Lucas, who will give you some insights of current trends as we see them.
Thanks. All right. When Sven and I were thinking about current trends and current affairs in the blockchain community, we thought about, okay, what is more important right now than the current discussion about the Bitcoin scaling debate. So I would like to tell you something today about Bitcoin scaling, and I think you're probably all aware of the debate about the scaling problem. So just to get an overview about it. Well, the problem with Bitcoin is basically it doesn't scale very well. So the problem right now is we've got a maximum throughput of about 6 transactions per second, and I think you all know that this is just too few transactions to really compete in the market, to really be able to handle that many transactions. So in the past we've seen different approaches to address this problem actually, and I think you all have probably heard of the most famous approach, which is probably SegWit. So SegWit is segregated witness, and SegWit is often mentioned as a block size increasement. So SegWit is backwards compatible. That means that if you don't accept SegWit, your node is backwards compatible to those nodes that accept SegWit actually. So how is that even possible? We've got a block size increasement, so that means our blocks are now bigger, but we are also backwards compatible. So the reason for that is that it's not really a block size increasement, but a block weight increasement. So that means we've got a different system right now, and we are compatible to old nodes, and we enable these nodes to deal with the blocks in the way that they are used to deal with the blocks, but we can also increase the number of transactions that are included within a block, so we can actually handle more transactions. So, but there is another problem regarding SegWit, because SegWit was first proposed in 2015, I think, and it was proposed as BIP 141. So a BIP is a Bitcoin improvement proposal. And as we can see down here, SegWit is BIP 141, and it's a backward compatible soft fork. So the BIP 141 basically says that if 95% of blocks signal SegWit, then we're going to activate SegWit with an activation period that expires on November 15th this year. So the activation period is defined in BIP 9 actually, which you can see at the top right of the slide. So, but the problem is we're far away from these 95%. So, but we still have the scaling problem. So some people came up with different approaches, and one of these approaches is the user-activated soft fork, which is defined in BIP 148. So BIP 148 basically says, okay, if BIP 141 is not locked in by August 1st, and that's pretty close, isn't it? So we all need to be aware of this. So if it's not locked in, we, the users, because it's a user-activated soft fork, will just reject all the blocks that don't signal BIP 141. So that's really important to understand, because if we reject these blocks, actually, a chain split might happen. Okay, that means that there are still blocks that do not signal BIP 141, and we will have 2 chains, because some of our nodes just accept the one thing, and the others just accept the new thing. So that's pretty risky, isn't it? And then there is another proposal which is called SegWit 2x. It's also known as the New York Agreement, because it was created at the Consensus 2017 this year in New York. And SegWit 2x says if 80% of miners signal SegWit 2x with actually a different bit than the UASF is signaled with, then we will orphan blocks that don't signal the BIP 141. So, okay, that might seem complicated or something. So what you need to know is that this is really important, and we are really close to the dates right now. So SegWit 2x actually checks the percentage of miners adopting it on July 21st, which is on Friday in 3 days. So everyone who holds Bitcoin in this room should really be aware of the fact that this thing is happening right now. So let us take a look at the adoption rate of the New York Agreement, which is 87% right now. I checked it today actually. And as you can see on the slide, we need 80%. So we're actually above these 80% right now. So it's very possible that this is going to happen. So what does that mean to you? If you have not done it until now, please control your private keys. So get rid of all these exchanges and be in possession of your private keys. Use either a paper wallet or a hardware wallet, and well, just really control your keys, because it's very important. You don't know what happens, and you don't know if there will be a chain split or something like that. So be in possession of your keys. The second thing is, don't transfer on or after August 1st. You don't know if there are 2 chains, maybe 3 chains. You don't even know which chain you are dealing with. You don't even know if there's really consensus on the one chain or not. So just the best thing you can do is don't trade, don't transfer. So then just lean back and relax and wait like maybe 2 weeks until the storm is over. So that's it for now. If you have any questions on that, yeah, feel free to reach out. That's it.
All right, thanks a lot. So yeah, thanks for being here from my side also. My name is Jens. I'm a tax director here at Deloitte, and well, I thought I had the same fancy turning globe, but it won't turn, however. Oh, okay. I just have one slide for you additionally to that. So the question, cryptocurrencies, blockchain was on the agenda, but more specific, cryptocurrencies, a tax-free domain. For me as a tax advisor, the answer is simple, no. There is no tax-free domain, but I can tell you fiscal authorities are struggling a lot around the globe, that's why we have the globe, around the globe to adapt to new technologies. And I'm aware of that. You've heard in the last, I think in the last meetup, quite extensively and comprehensively about the German rules of taxation. I just want to add in 5 minutes time a little, another perspective, a more global perspective, very high level, just to create some awareness with you guys that yes, there is no tax-free domain, even not with cryptocurrencies, but there are problems and chances for solving maybe international tax problems that haven't been solved before, or that were hard to be solved before. However, a couple of days ago we had a meeting with quite high-level representatives of the German fiscal authorities, and they said something very interesting for me. They were saying, we have no science reflection for new technologies in taxation, which is not really true, but that was the perception. They said, go to universities as far as you have influences, go to universities and encourage guys there to create knowledge, create the bridge between the new technologies and tax aspects. So if you have a good idea for a paper, we are happy to support with our resources, and if it's on tax and things like blockchain. So that's what they actually said, because new legislation will come up, international legislation will come up. I see the OECD. The OECD should be the right place for creating legislation for dealing with tax aspects and things like cryptocurrencies. So just some quick aspects. Well, we have just 3 building blocks that I think are important, and some of the aspects you have heard last time from a purely German point of view, I think, which is on the first hand the indirect taxation, VAT, value added tax, GST. which is general sales tax in the US. We have the direct taxation, which is income taxes, corporate income taxes, and individual income taxes. And you have the big and more important field of compliance, including tax audits. Now there we may use blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, for instance, for fraud detection. Not we, but the tax authorities will. Yeah. So starting on the upper left, VAT, GST questions. And I only want to raise questions today. There's no general answer, at least not in an international scale. Why not? Because there is no international tax law. To make it clear for everyone, there is no international tax laws. There are double tax treaties. 95% of the double tax treaties between countries in the world are based on the OECD Model Tax Treaty. Now, the OECD Model Tax Treaty just celebrated its 50th birthday. And yes, it has adapted, but it has not adapted to new fancy technologies like blockchain. Just one example. I have here on the slide a permanent establishment risk, meaning that you're going to be tax liable in a country where you have a permanent establishment as a company. What does that mean? What is a permanent establishment? Now, a permanent establishment is defined in the OECD Model Tax Treaty as something connected to the ground. Basically, a server farm, whatever. It is not created to reflect things like application sharing, distributed computing in any kind. So that will be something to be discussed heavily as long as new technologies emerge. Now, what do we have? We have questions of VAT. Now, in Germany, 19%. If something is VAT tax liable, it costs like 90% plus. So we have mining activities, mining in quote unquote. So are you tax liable when you mine a Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency? What is it? Is it an exchange of services? Maybe yes, maybe no. What about the currency exchange? Or I think you've talked about that last time a little bit, but that was the only, or basically is the only thing where we have legislation on the one hand and adjudication from the European Court of Justice on the other hand. Now, for instance, if you exchange Bitcoin against euro, is that something where VAT is due? Now, basically, the German fiscal authority is saying yes, but the European Court of Justice, from a case of Sweden, says no, because it's an exchange of currencies, which is exempted from VAT. Now, there you see that as long as, or at least, European VAT law is or should be aligned through the countries, through 27 member states, 26 soon. Now, at least this is the case. Fiscal authorities in the countries may interpret the law differently, which is a risk. Payments. Is it tax liable to have a payment in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency? No. Basically, no. But does every fiscal authority in Europe, in the world, see it exactly the same? I don't know. As long as you get in larger scale transactions, you have to be aware of that there may be VAT liabilities due. Now, what about direct taxation? Valuation of cryptocurrency assets, and I put this little graph showing the Ether development of value development, which is going down in July 2017 quite heavily. Now, is that valuated? As long as you are a company making up your balances, okay, you're making up a balance after IFRS or US GAAP, after local GAAP, like the German statutory GAAP, for instance, and you're making up a tax balance. Now, are you valuating your Ether or Bitcoins the same in all of those three, or are there differences? For instance, in Germany, if something loses value and it's not constantly losing value, you may not be allowed to reduce the value below your buying costs. Okay, so you may have a temporary difference that you have to account for in your IFRS balance sheet. So lots and lots of questions which are not only on blockchain or on cryptocurrencies, but also on other intangibles. Okay, attribution of C assets, cryptocurrency assets, to an owner. There we may have something positive in terms of taxation from cryptocurrencies, because you can prove basically who bought your Bitcoin at what point in time without any doubt. So this is not true for lots of other intangible assets, because sometimes you have differences in timing which may lead or even in legislation, which may lead to a double dip, what we call double dip structures, where you have assets attributed to more than one entity. We have that in leasing contracts, for instance. All right, we talked about permanent establishments. What about tax exemption of income from cryptocurrency assets? Now, I think you talked about that last time. When cryptocurrencies increase in value and you sell them, what happens to the gain? Is it tax exempt? Is it tax exempt maybe 100%, maybe less, or even not? Is there a difference to dividends, or is it treated similar like dividends? Okay, non-deductible expenses. Turn the thing around. Look at here. Things are going down, things are losing value. Can you use the tax losses? Can you use the losses for your tax return? Can you carry them forward, backward? You have to think about that. All right, tax audit, compliance aspects. We're seeing a heavy development throughout the world, which goes into the direction of digital audits. Now, fiscal authorities all over the globe tend to audit companies, corporates especially, digitally. So they require data access to the bookkeeping. Now, would you open the wallet for the tax auditor? Would you show the tax auditor all your transaction? What do you have to be prepared for if you do so? Can the tax auditor, without any doubt, see which amount in cryptocurrency is in your wallet in what point of time? Yes, he can. And that may be an advantage compared to other intangible assets or to other auditable bookkeeping. Proof of transaction, yes, also. That may be an advantage in the cryptocurrency world, because you can prove that you transacted in this and that point of time exactly, because you paid with Bitcoin, for instance. For instance, in Germany, bookkeeping data with all the accounts have to be handed over to the tax authorities in a machine-readable format. Can you do that with your cryptocurrency wallets? Is it possible? Do you have to transform the format before handing over? In Germany, tax auditors even have the right to directly access any kind of bookkeeping that may be tax relevant. Can you grant access, to your wallet, for instance? And fraud detection. Fraud detection is not directly linked to tax audits. However, it gets, I think, more and more important when we think about high-level transactions or high-volume transactions between related companies, for instance. That's basically it. Some food for thought for you. And again, if you have some ideas for white papers, for anything to add to the discussion, we are happy to discuss with you. Thank you very much.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. Hi, guys. My name is Sasha Borovic. I am a Chief Finance Officer and a lawyer at a company called Cloudeo. And we'll talk about business and legal issues today associated with what is known as initial coin offering. I believe a better term is token generating event. We'll talk about the legal issues, and as I was getting here, I rode my bike and I was stopped by a police officer, and he said, "I hope you will not protest that you violated the rules." And I thought, okay, well, I already sponsored the beer tonight. If I have to pay for the bike rules violation, this will be an expensive date tonight. And but he let me go. And as I was going, I thought, well, there are different police officers. But I also thought it's interesting how you live in the regulated environment, and obviously you're on the wrong side and you violate it. And we're going to talk about the legal issues of ICO, and you ask a normal regulator what ICO is, so what token generating event is, and he will or she will have very little idea. And that is a challenge that we have as a community to figure out what exactly applies to us. And at the same time, we kind of like it. We like that there are no rules, that in reality we can play there, we can flirt with concepts, and we hope it will stay that way so that we can, I don't know, make more money. And that is what we'll be discussing today. I first want to introduce the company that we are, Cloudeo. And I'll explain why we are looking into this also in a moment. There are about 1,500 satellites orbiting the Earth, and each of them is producing some data. About 1/3 or so are producing data related to the Earth. And that data now is sitting in different pockets, and to use that data is very hard. And so our model up until recently was we build a platform. In the pre-blockchain world, we build a platform for that. I'll show you a short video so that you can see what exactly we do.
Geodata helps solve modern world's challenges by showing what is changing, where, and how often. It lets us see trends such as city populations growing, quantifying objects and distances, monitor the influence of fertilizers on crops over time, or accurately calculate damage risks. But analyzing and interpreting raw data requires intelligent tools. And unfortunately, developers struggle to create innovative services because of huge entry barriers. Creating new applications requires complex infrastructure and access to expensive satellite data. As a result, only governments and large corporates can really afford the complexity of this process today. What if we could lower these entry barriers and unlock the potential of this 200 billion euro market? Cloudeo's Geo Marketplace makes geodata and technology accessible to everyone as a service in the cloud. Satellite image providers are now able to offer their images with new value-based price models to a huge group of potential customers at significantly reduced cost. At the same time, developers can create and distribute new information services using existing data, apps, and infrastructure. And customers can easily find solutions which solve their problems. Our ecosystem already includes the leading market players, and with more partners joining, the industry will grow to its full potential. Thousands of apps and services will emerge, interact, and stimulate further growth. Cloudeo, affordable geo services for your business. Visit www.cloudeo-ag.com.
So that's a short video about who we are in terms of personalities. We have two rocket engineers in the company. Manfred is sitting here. He's a CEO. He's one of them. He was involved in the first European commercial satellite launch. And He raised 150 million for his first startup. This is his second. We raised the first round. We closed the first round on the 28th of June with a reputable European fund, and now we're looking into something else. And what that else is, I'll show you in a second. Effectively, we have very close relationships with the European Space Agency, and one of the projects that we had with them was we introduced tokens. And they were closed tokens. They were not blockchain tokens. They were tokens for the research and development research and development communities around the world. And we tested how it actually is working, and it is working pretty well. Pretty much imagine a coin that researchers and development around the world, both in the universities and institutions and from the corporate world, they are using those tokens to get access to geodata, geoservices, and potentially some other space issues. And so we thought, why not to look into something else?
It's great to be here at the European Space Agency and the European Space Policy Institute. I suppose that each time when you invite a startup like ours to an event like this, you're looking for disruption. The most frequently used word this event so far were cloud and platform. There was one word that was not used here today at all. It's blockchain. Blockchain, let me say it again, blockchain. We have years of working with the European Space Agency. I personally have years of working with the European Commission and the EU institutions. Earlier this year, together with the European Space Agency, we introduced a token system on our platform for researchers and developers to access Earth observation data and services. This was a success. Today, we are looking to introduce smart contracts and potentially tokenize the entire Earth observation industry. And that is why we're calling today on the European Space Agency, the industry, the European Commission, geo and crypto enthusiasts to join us in building the distributed ledger for Earth observation data. Let's call it the digital library of the Earth, and let's make it available to everyone at any time.
So that's our interest in tokens, and I will tell you a little bit how I, as a lawyer, I'm admitted in New York. I don't know if I mentioned, I graduated from Harvard Law School. I'm admitted to New York. I started my career in Palo Alto. I built a startup, worked for law firms. Then I worked for Microsoft. I was the head at Microsoft of the entire public sector worldwide. It's a $25 billion business. Then I was a head lawyer at Akamai in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And now I'm again in the startup, which is amazing. And what we'll start talking about is the ICO versus token generating event. Generally, who in this group believes that coin and tokens are the same, that it's all semantics? Anyone? Is coin and token the same? Come on, guys, you're investing. So what are you investing in? Okay, I'll take a position and you guys can challenge if you want. I believe coin is a method of payment which accumulates the value which the community around this assigns to this asset. And it's only valid for transactions as a coin that you have in your pocket, except that in this instance, it's not the European bank that is issuing this coin, it's the community, and it's in crypto. Token is a smarter device, and also, in my understanding, again, guys, challenge it. In my understanding, Bitcoin is, the coin is more like a Bitcoin phenomenon. And token is more like a smart contract. It's a other phenomenon. It is smarter in a way that it has a much broader functionality. because it's a smart contract. It's actually what you put in that smart contract, and there is no one contract that is the same. If I look at your lease agreement for your property, it's different from my lease agreement. For example, I'm not allowed to have pets, I'm not allowed to bring bikes and not play piano and whatever else, right? Whereas you may have all those rights allowed. So if we put those two contracts in tokens, then what you have essentially is that your token is different from mine, and they are written in code language, so that's our tokens. And they have some similarity in the sense that you can change your tokens for fiat money, for other crypto units, and the same with coins, right? They are interchangeable. I personally prefer a less sexy word, token generating event, to ICO as a lawyer, because ICO is suspiciously close to IPO. It is legal. You have to try to shake this last one, right? And the last one is you're making this money with the expectation of profits. And let's be honest here, we're not for charity in this world. Everyone who is investing tries to make some money. But an ICO has to be structured so that whatever raise you experience with this token, it's not from the expectation that you have that you will get this money or this return based on the efforts of other people. So in other words, think of Linux of this world, where everyone participates in the community of some sort. And so that is what makes effectively this last one. If you are in rush, that's the way we can stop, and you guys can go home to remember just this one thing, that look, if I'm buying these tokens because I think that somehow they will raise in price because some other guys will be doing something and I will experience rise in price, that becomes an investment, right? And this is where you will see that pretty much who is issuing coins or generating tokens is trying to make this sound as if it's a charity event or as if you are a community that has to participate. Like, for example, in our instance, how Claudio is looking at this, and I will be throwing you some examples as to how Claudio is looking at this. We are saying, look, we define mining very broadly. We are saying that whomever wants to advertise our services, please advertise it, and this is your participation in the network. Whomever wants to be a reseller of these services, write to your friends, to farmers around the world, write to institutions, whomever you know, researchers and development guys, and say, look at this, that may be interesting. In other words, you have to try to build a community. You have to try, like, for example, I put some very little money into Bancor and just to play, to see what they do. And I never heard from them again. I don't know what they do, right? So effectively, I'm not a member of their community, for better or worse, but I'm not, right? So more likely than not, they consider that the money that I put in is an investment, right? And as a U.S. green card holder, I'm protected. I can actually turn them in, right? I'm not going to do that, but that's how the law actually works. And so either you are, whenever you are, I would imagine that you guys here, maybe some of you are thinking of doing an ICO, but more likely, unless you're just curious in the phenomenon, you're looking where to buy interesting tokens. And so you will have to see how these guys who are writing the white paper, and we'll talk about the white paper, how they tiptoe around the issue of investment. If it is a donation, you have to be aware that it's a donation and you may not hear from these guys again. Or it's your license to participate in the network. But then you're making a choice that you actually will assign or affiliate yourself with a particular network, that it requires certain things that you can do. Posting a post on Facebook saying, check this out, I think that's very interesting, that's your contribution, boom, you are in the network, right? So that's the dynamic that you see there. And these are the on the left, you have your token is not a security. So for example, as a lawyer for Claudia, when we're writing a white paper, and our white paper should be released sometime next week. We are now showing it to friends and family. But as we're writing it, these are the things on the left which are cool to have, right? If you have them, that's not a security. You are fine. You are not violating any U.S. laws or any laws generally, right? And when you look at all this, effectively, you have to think of two contracts that are very close to these concepts. That is the franchise agreement and the license agreement, right? And in the franchise agreement, you effectively are paying something, and someone gives you the right to use the name of this franchise, to participate in this franchise, to do what you think is right within certain rules, right? So if you are in the franchise, so to say, that's okay. If you are in the license, where someone gives you the right to do something, to use something, to participate in something, to resell something, that is also okay, right? That is not a security. You are part of the network where you get the rights to do certain things and maybe assume some obligations as well, right? So this is the part. Now here you see when token is a security, right? And that is effectively that your token is somehow connected to the equity interest, where basically I come and I say, guys, come put your crypto into our company because we will increase the value of this token, and effectively we can convert these tokens later into the equity, into the shares. We give you right to participate in the board and. So you pretty much connect your token to the equity interest. That's a security. That's the regulators will catch you as soon as some token holders will protest, right? Then the same if you connect this to share of profits. If, for example, you say, look, if our company starts losing money, we will, this is your loss as well. You will have to cover, or we will cover from your tokens, etc., from the money that you have invested. All right, that becomes an issue, right? Then if you get like a creditor or lender, but except that you are giving your credit in cryptocurrency, right? The same repayment obligations and all this stuff. So basically, as soon as you view this as an investment, right? As soon as the company or the foundation is, and we'll talk company versus foundation dynamic in a short while, as soon as you get into the investment element, it becomes problematic. It becomes prohibited.
Sasha,
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yeah, please.
To your table.
Yeah.
Would you say that the fact of selling tokens initially or not initially is already indicating one of the two sides?
Usually what I've seen three different scenarios. One is when the most frequent is that a white paper has a mixture of both, right? That's the most frequent. The second scenario is when guys don't pretend to do anything funny, they just go here, right? And the third is that guys go there, but what they mean is actually this, right? Because it's very hard. It's very hard. It's like you live in the shark eats sharks world where everyone looks to invest and invest big and earn and stuff. This is not, look, I attended many charity meetings. Trust me, those guys look different, right? And so this is the concept that you have to figure out how you build what I hope to see next, appearing next. And I know the EU, from what I know, the EU is not taking that place. But some countries actually are saying, if something is a spade, let's call it a spade, and let's create the regulations framework where it's a Wild West. People know that it's risky, but let them play. They want to play, let them play. You know, it's their cryptocurrency, crypto assets, let them play. And I know no EU country will do that. The EU will do something different. The EU is planning to update or to upgrade the 5th directive where they will regulate certain things. And I think more countries like Switzerland, Singapore, maybe Liechtenstein, they can go into that place. I spoke with a number of regulators from countries like Jersey, Guernsey, and all that stuff, and those countries don't have intellectual ability to understand what new regulations have to say. It's fairly complex stuff. You guys were investing here for a while, from what I understand, and I ask you what's the difference between coin and token, and there is no answer, right? And so if you come to a Jersey regulator and you say, okay, we're going to regulate coin and tokens, and they say, look, we can do blind trust, we can, do funny stuff, but not this, right? And so that is what you see. And more often, sophisticated guys now, they write something like this, they try to avoid this, and it's sort of, if you will, a consensus that guys go like, okay, I understand, you're building the network. In our instance, like for example, one of the elements that we, as Claudio, I will never be in a position to say, guys, invest into our tokens because this is going to be brilliant, right? I will never do that. But I will say like this, look, we're issuing a number of tokens. The industry we are playing in is 5 billion. The industry is projected to grow to 200 billion in the next couple of years. So you go like, okay, then how I should look at it is, if these guys are right, they seem to launch the first satellite, so maybe they can launch the first coin for space. And so you say, if they are right, then possibly the price of this token will grow with the market, assuming they will not be inflating the tokens by issuing thousands of tokens every year. So let me see, how do they actually issue their tokens, to whom, right? And so that is how you run your analysis. And you have a question? Sorry. Yeah? Hit me.
Yeah, you mentioned donations. So
yeah.
I read quite often that people structure it like, say, it's just a donation. So, do you avoid the whole topic if you say it's not a sale, it's donation?
Well, look, it's not how you call it, right? You can call it donation and then do all of this, right? And that becomes, you can call it token, but it will be a investment contract or share in the company. You can call it donation, but it could be not a donation, but an investment through the backdoor IPO, right? So you have to read a bit more. Donation is like an easy way to try to go around it, right? And pretty much say, we are not doing the security. And it's a good way, actually. I mean, if you can, the problem with donation is like say I come and I say, look guys, we are in business here and I'm looking for donation. That just sounds strange. I don't know, I personally would not do it, and then I don't understand why anyone else would do it unless I'm looking into some people who are doing very interesting medical research, right? And it's medical research that would take care of many inflammatory diseases. And I imagine coming into the audience like this and say, look guys, actually, it's a great research for a network. How about we put, something little to build the network for scientists? That I can imagine. But that some entrepreneurial guys would be doing something interesting for their network and they're collecting donations, that is just doesn't sit right with me, right? And I think if regulators would have to view someone would raise the defense saying, look, Your Honor, this is not a security, this is a donation, I think the regulators will be just as cynical as I am, right?
Okay. It makes no sense to sell a donation at
Yeah.
the primary market 10 times more than you pay for that.
Yeah.
And
donation type.
Yeah.
and like do you have like your own assessment of how many of those, let's say, bigger token generating events or ICOs are at risk to be kind of
Yeah.
this security?
Well, there are many of them that are at risk. I think I would say like this: all of them are at risk because it's what is called terra incognita, right? It's unknown, and regulators don't know either. And if I were a regulator, and I know a few people who work for regulators, what they would do is they will simply test it. They will put a test in it, right? And they will say, let's see how they defend. Let's see how we need. It's like the age of the internet when in Palo Alto, and I was there pretty much at that time, in Palo Alto, people would sit and wait how the court decides on this or that matter. And the court decides, and then everyone goes like, okay, now we know how it works, right? In the crypto world, you have a few things. You have what is called in New York, it's called a bit license. And that you know that there is a state that regulated something fairly strict, actually, fairly prohibitive. And it's a problem because it's hard in this world to do anything avoiding New York. And they are saying if you are targeting New York, if you are targeting anyone in New York, and then it's hard to do with something with the US because it's the same issue. The US somehow has something with New York. Your bank is in New York, or something, and your corresponding bank is in New York, and then you hit the bit license. So that's the first regulation. Then there was an interesting case a few months ago when the exchange, NASDAQ, I believe, tried to list a trust company that would be trading with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin. And the exchange was ready to do it, and Securities and Exchange Commission intervened and said, you're not allowed to register them. There will be no such trust that will be trading with crypto, and explain why. And you go like, okay, that's interesting. That's how they see it. And you go like, okay, I'm curious how the regulators will do it, right? What Europe will do. I personally believe, and that you saw a little video from the meeting last week with the European Commission and European Space Agency. That's when we announced that we want to go for tokens. And they said, look, Europe actually can beat the United States. We overslept the internet revolution. Don't oversleep the blockchain revolution. And they are looking into that. They are very much into it. So who knows? Maybe Europe will have an advantage. But let's go back to the subject. When we say structure and what everything in that table was, where does it appear, right? And it appears in the white paper. And there are a few, I believe there are 5 slides that I have, and I'll go through them quickly to see what a decent white paper is. Like say, Claudio, when we do it, we describe the protocol on the network, we identify the reasons for the token to exist, and that is to bring different pockets of the space industry, the Earth observation industry together, introduce smart contracts, etc. But you'll see that in the white paper. Provide detailed technical descriptions, set clear expectations, meaning you need to say what will come at the end and what will come at the end of each stage, right? Very important is have an independent expert, have someone who is respectful on the market. In our case, we will be bringing space experts, people who are space pioneers in the space industry, to opine and say what will work here, what will not, right? And that is the short description as to, or explanation why you need to have this, right? We go further. You have to, in the white paper, you have to commit to a roadmap. And again, you describe, in our case, we're doing 3 stages. We estimate time, we estimate cost for each stage. We include the breakdown of estimated expenses, and then allocate funding. Also, what is important is you say restrict access to funding until milestones are hit, right? So, like again, if we take Bancor as an example, they had none of that, and it's not clear what they're gonna do with the 150 plus million in money. It's not clear. Do they have milestones? What happens if at the very beginning they figured that what they want to do is impossible? So are they going to return the funds? Are they going to start doing something else? Are they going to start using the money that they have assigned, the crypto that they assigned for the second stage? Are they going to use it for the first stage? It's not clear. And so that's what your white paper should pretty much explain, right? Then there is a question how much the development team should get. Like in our instance, I mentioned we are a startup that exists a couple of years. We just closed round A on valuation above 10 million, and so now we're opening this for the network, right? What does it mean? Like how much would the development that was done before, how should it be valued by the community? How much of what we are doing preparing for the token generating event, how much should that be valued? And these are important questions that whenever you present the white paper you have to explain. And then you also explain who the development team going forward will be. Remember that you're opening the network and you're saying, guys, now it's not one company anymore. It's all of us. Whoever wants to participate, it's open source. So come contribute. Whomever wants to contribute, your reimbursement is this, this, and this. And there is a committee that will regulate your dynamic. And all of that has to be in the white paper. I talked about, yeah, I see. So, sorry, I actually talked about this slide. I didn't realize it was a different slide behind me. So this is what I told you before. What you have here is how do you price your token, and the advice is denominated in just one cryptocurrency because the currency jump and you invite speculations. You also would be hard for you to explain why one token cost one Bitcoin and one other while their price deviate from each other. You say, look, I'm doing this exercise, I'm building this network. Imagine I don't have a successful ICO, a token generating event. What do? You can say I return the crypto money back, or I work. I said that I will do the smart contracts. That's what I will do. This will be my goal in the next year, right? We talked about this, and here is do not promote this as an investment, because if I appear here today and I say, look guys, we're preparing an ICO, and I give you everything I would normally give in the if you guys are venture capitalists, and that would be considered solicitation. That would be considered as invitation to invest, and that would be illegal. The same in the white paper. If I use any language suggesting that, look, it's a good investment, and as I said, in our instance, we say, look, we're issuing a limited number of tokens. We believe these tokens will become the currency within the ecosystem, within the space and Earth observation satellite industries, and that's how big the industry is, and this is how you calculate, but this is your homework rather than ours, because if we do this homework for you, that becomes an investment solicitation, right? And so that's one thing I wanted to add. You look, when you build a network like this, who should be the driving force? Who is the team who are doing this? And there are three legal entities that people use. One is the foundation, that's the most frequent, and that's where people go either to Zug or they go to Singapore. Zug has some regulations about Ether, but if you're doing something on a different platform, Zug is not necessarily the best. Singapore has a fairly strict securities laws, so you can easily open a foundation or a company and issue tokens, but you have to be careful because Singapore actually is fairly regulated when it comes to securities laws. And again, remember that Singapore is a small city country, and there are very few people in Singapore who will be buying your tokens. For that, what Singapore law says about securities is almost irrelevant. Other that Singaporean authority can go after you, but it is more who is buying, right? And that is where now you see many residents and citizens of China, India, Ukraine, Russia, countries where the state is not known for protecting the citizens as investors too much. That's where the investments come, and that affects and impacts your marketing strategy to a very large degree, right? And at the same time, I'm very convinced, and in fact, it will be interesting for us to observe as we stand now, as Claudio stands now. I'm very tempted to open the token to the US buyers, simply because I think we have a good shot at structuring it as a non-security valid token that represents the right to participate in the build-up of our ecosystem. So that's how we are looking at it. If we identify, we will post the white paper next week. We'll see what comments we get, right? And if someone identifies risks, we will change the strategy. But for now, we are trying to build the clean token generating event. And so more about us and on what we are doing. I'll take the questions after this, but if you have questions that you want to entertain, that I have some guys who came, they are researchers, they are doing something at technical university here, and I'd be happy to work with researchers, or if you guys are thinking of doing an ICO, for us, it's interesting to be in touch. The white paper is coming next week. The generating event you can follow on this web page. It has a Slack there reference you can get on Slack and talk to our guys, right? And yeah, there is a CCC rule: stay cool, calm, and collected, right? Okay, so any questions? I'll be happy to take some, or we can do it offline. As we said, there is some cold beer in the fridge. Yeah.
You mentioned Switzerland and Singapore. What about Hong Kong?
Yeah, Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong is interesting because it's a common law system, right? At the same time, it's in China. It's understandable. It seems that they are just beginning to. As I said, there will be a jurisdiction very soon. There will be a jurisdiction which will say, look, here is how we need to play this token game, and this is a set of liberal rules that one can follow to play this game. And chances are that Hong Kong and Liechtenstein, Zug, maybe Singapore, but I don't think so. Simply, Singapore is not a democracy. It's a fairly heavily regulated country. If you speak with Singapore, and that's the same limitation in Hong Kong a little bit, but if you speak with people in Singapore, they say, look, it's not like we have a lively debate about our investment climate. It's more like what the central authority brings, and we have to adopt that. The same in Hong Kong. It's not clear what will come, right? That's unpredictable situation. But people go there. You see more and more. I'll tell you our strategy for now. I'll open our cards. we're engaging with Liechtenstein senior level government officials, and we say, look, we can help you to write that set of rules. We will make it. You guys have to restructure what you're doing. You cleaned your stuff from 90s and 80s, but let's write the new regulation that will work very well going forward for tokenizing industries, and we'll see how they respond. But yeah, Hong Kong, you're right. Although if I ask anyone who went to Hong Kong what advantages you've seen there, no one could give me anything that I would not get in Zug unless you are not on Ether, right? If you are on some other platform, Hong Kong can be interesting because they, yeah. Anything else? All right, well, on this note, thanks for organizing it. We have guys from Deloitte. Vladimir is as enthusiastic as I know anyone who is organizing events like this. So thank you so much, and thank you for giving us opportunity to present. And of course, you guys, it's a sunny day and you could have been doing something different. I appreciate that you decided to come. And then guys who are watching it on YouTube, sorry that you'll have to miss the beer. Right. All right, thank you.
So, thank you very much again.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation. Shall we make like a short break, 5 minutes break to refresh ourselves and continue with the next presentation? Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you.
You're doing next?
Yeah.
Here has to wait.
Has to wait.